I didn't know that there was a second book until I was 10 pages away from finishing this one. If you do not know what American Royals is, this is like if America won the Revolutionary War, but then decided to have George Washington as king. This book follows Beatrice, the oldest daughter who is also the heir to the throne, her younger twin brother and sister, Samantha and Jefferson. They kind of have like almost aristocratic families. That's where you get some of these like families that you would have heard about in our history, like our actual timeline. Face the camera. Yes. This book, for the most part, is about their entangled romantic relationships. It's like My Date with the President's Daughter, but like a step up in seriousness because she's gonna be queen. There are multiple love triangles in this book. They're not all exactly romantic. Beatrice is kind of getting forced into a marriage, and her choice happens to be involved with someone else in the royal family. This book really reminded me of The Selection a lot, and I think partially it's the writing style, the way the story is set up, and partially just because of the whole like princessy vibe, which I thoroughly enjoy. It is not your most complicated book. A lot of it felt a little bit predictable to me. Not that that was a bad thing. I still really enjoyed reading it. There were a few like twists that caught me off guard, but overall, you can guess where it's going until the very end. But this is a really fun alternate timeline because so much else is normal. Like there's mentions of like going to Wawa for milkshakes and the different schools that we have. Like they talk about all the royals going to Harvard. If you have not read it, go and read it. The audiobook is really good for this one. The chapters alternate between Beatrice, her younger sister Samantha, Samantha's best friend, a commoner, Nina, and Daphne, a girl who believes she is going to be marrying into the royal family. And each of them have a very distinct voice, which is lovely and very hard to do. Goodbye if you have not read it. I'm going to get into spoilers. So I took no notes, which is going to go great. I think what's going to work best is to talk about each of the girls individually and spiral out from there. So my favorite character was Beatrice. She has all the pressure on her. She's a descendant of King George, who is George Washington. It's just wild to read that. She finds out early in the book that her father is dying and that she's going to be becoming queen much sooner than she believed she was going to be. Basically, her father's dying wish is that she gets married. He does believe in her as a leader, but he knows that she's gonna get a lot of bad press for being the first female leader of America, and thinks that some of that will be alleviated if she has a reputable guy from a noble family with her. So her parents put together this list of boys for her to pick from. It's very Princess Diaries too.
Too old. Too young.
Does this popcorn taste like pears?
And she meets this guy, Teddy, who her parents have pre-approved. And she likes him. She doesn't like him, but she is like, you know, he's not a horrible person. But the problem is, her younger sister, Samantha, has really hit it off with him right before he met Beatrice. She doesn't know that their dad is dying, and she doesn't know that Beatrice is in this horrible situation where she needs to get married pretty much ASAP. So of course, she's like just spiraling with rage. And also she kind of hates Teddy. She's like, what the heck? We get this inkling of something that went down in the past between Samantha's best friend Nina, who is like normal. She is in college just trying to live her normal life, and Samantha's brother at some like New Year's Eve or graduation party kissed Nina even though he was dating this other girl. And so Nina, she's like, I do not want the palace life. She's seen enough of it around Samantha to know that it's not really her, and she has especially never told anyone about her and Jeff at all. The problem is that the girlfriend saw the two of them making out at this party and said nothing. And this girlfriend is freaking crazy. Her name is Daphne, and her chapters were intense. She has this idea that, you know, Jeff's doing whatever he wants now, but in the end, it's gonna be me. And so Jeffrey broke up with Daphne after making out with Nina and, like, basically didn't admit to what he did. But Daphne really is, you know, groomed for this royal life. And she's basically doing whatever she can to needle her way, like, get her way back into a relationship with Jeffrey, even though she doesn't really really like him that much.
Now I ain't saying she a gold digger.
She likes the position. Who she really likes is Jeffrey's best friend, Ethan. This was a lot to take in. With the whole book, there's this whole thing of like, I shouldn't have been around Ethan. It turns out that she cheated with Ethan, and they have never said anything about it since. And then, oh my gosh, okay, wait a second. Then, like, while Beatrice and Teddy are engaged, Teddy and Samantha are still talking this whole time, and Beatrice is in love with her guard, Connor. I think everybody cheats on everybody. Is that true? How do we still like That's amazing. The fact that I'm pulling for all of these characters and all of them have cheated, it is quite the royal drama. While Beatrice is meeting Teddy and Samantha is over there boiling, Nina has been, like, hardcore avoiding Jeffrey, even though she and Jeffrey and Samantha have been friends for, like, years. Because they kissed, and then Jeffrey, like, left without saying anything and, like, hasn't really talked to her about it or anything like that. Jeffrey pretty much apologizes, like, he's a good guy. He really wants to be with Nina and wants to make it work. Nina's a little more hesitant. I felt like there wasn't quite enough pushback there. He keeps showing up to her college campus, takes her to Wawa to get a milkshake, and it's cute. Like, it is cute. I felt like she didn't quite fight the way I expected her to fight against this relationship, but they do, like, start to date secretly. They haven't told Samantha the whole time. I was like, if you don't tell Samantha, she could spiral out of control and things could go really, really bad. The whole time I was like, she's gonna be fine with it. You just have to tell her. If she finds out herself, she's gonna be pissed. And she wasn't as pissed as I thought she would be. We didn't even talk about the ski trip. They all go on this ski trip that they just do every year. Daphne is usually invited, and this year she is not. So she shows up by herself, and she's flirting with Jefferson, and Ethan is there, and Ethan is like, I think he's taken. And that's when she, like, figures out that Nina and Jefferson are a thing, and later sends the tabloids after him. She has, like, a really good relationship with the tabloids and kind of dishes on the royal family and stuff, and that's how she gets such good press. America loves Daphne, and they love Daphne with Jefferson, and that's a big issue. Who doesn't make it to the ski trip? Beatrice, because of the snow. And guess who she's with? Connor, her guard. First of all, they're called the Revere Guard, like Paul Revere. Adorable. I love that. Little sprinkles of history. But she and Connor are trapped in this, like, hotel by themselves. We love the trope of a shared room and they can't escape. Best way to speed up a relationship line is to trap them together. Connor professes his love, Beatrice professes her love. Connor got assigned to her several years ago. He's been following her around for years during their, like, formative young adult years. Obviously, he's in love with her. Where have we seen something like that before? Except Connor is way better than Aspen. And because Beatrice is absent, Teddy and Samantha are kind of, like, talking. I'm not sure if it's at the ski lodge or, like, shortly after, when Teddy tells Samantha, you know, when the Queen of America asks you to date them, you don't say no. Like, his family is obviously really rich, but they've been having, like, issues and stuff, so it's kind of his job to bring them back to their social status through this relationship. And he doesn't really think it's gonna last that long, but Beatrice proposes shortly after, and he does not say no to the Queen of America, as he told Samantha. So we hit a point when everything seems to unravel. Everybody's been talking to everybody else, and it reaches, like, this breaking point for each of the relationships. Beatrice proposes, which it was really interesting to find out about her decorum lesson. She had to learn how to ask a guy out on a date, how to be the one to propose, because no guy is ever going to ask out the future Queen of America. It's just not going to happen. And so when she proposes to Teddy kind of, it's not romantic, but they're clearly forming a friendship, even if it's not a romantic relationship, and he kind of, like, promises to serve her, to be like that, you know, person that she needs by her side. So that obviously breaks his and Samantha's relationship. And then when Connor finds out, proposes to her just, like, kind of for the heck of it. He's like, I've at least got to try. He draws an engagement ring on with a marker, a la the paperclip ring in the Legend series. It was the same feeling, and I was so sad. Like, he's not angry per se, but obviously that relationship's broken. Now Daphne has sent the press after Nina, and everything is blowing up about her and Jefferson, and she can't take it. She isolates herself from everyone. Samantha can't get a hold of her. Jefferson can't get a hold of her. She's really, like, ready to be done. So that relationship's broken, and Daphne isn't back in with the royal family yet. There's a really important moment for Samantha and Nina during this time, is that Samantha's trying to get a hold of her and can't. And the reason she wants to talk to Nina is because she wants to complain about Teddy and Beatrice's engagement. When she finally does get a hold of Nina and starts talking about that, Nina, like, genuinely can't believe that Samantha could be so self-centered. Like, Nina's entire life is unraveling. Wherever she goes, she is stared at, People are horrible to her online, and Samantha isn't there for any of it, and she doesn't really seem to care. And so that friendship is broken. So all these people have these broken apart pieces, not to mention Daphne and Ethan over there who can't pull it together. And there's like this underlying thing with them, like there's something really, really wrong that happened because there's this friend of theirs that has been in a coma for months, and Daphne feels like it's her fault. When we went into this last party scene, I was very unprepared. Samantha and Beatrice have sort of bonded a little bit. Beatrice has kind of come to Samantha for advice in a way she hasn't in a really long time because she's stuck in this love triangle. Beatrice decides she's gonna break up with Teddy. And Samantha is so excited, obviously, because she's like, yeah, it's gonna be really bad press for there to be a turnaround of Beatrice dating Teddy and then Samantha dating Teddy, but they're gonna deal with it. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna deal with it. And Beatrice went to go talk to her dad, and she's like, I'm gonna have to break up with Teddy because I'm in love with my guard. This whole book, there has been this sort of dual feeling of like, yes, Beatrice is like the king's daughter, and so he's so happy like she's found love and things like that, but at the same time, like, he is also her king, her predecessor, her mentor, and he is like, absolutely not, you cannot marry your guard. And he actually says that he was in love with someone before her mom, and it wasn't gonna work. He was in a very similar situation, and he married for the crown, which is something Beatrice's grandfather always told her. He's like, when it comes down to it, you have to choose the crown over your own personal feelings. And Beatrice is in stepping down territory. Like, she is considering giving it all up for love, which would leave Samantha as queen, which it could be chaos, it could be horrible, but it could also be amazing. Can you imagine Samantha as a queen? This girl wears straight up neon and zebra print. I would love to see that. If we get that in the next book, that would be amazing. But Beatrice is kind of, she's pushing more. Why can't I marry Connor? Can't we just change the law? Can't we do this? And then her father has a heart attack. A young king having a heart attack? Does it sound familiar? And so obviously every matter gets dropped. And the rest of the book, they're at the hospital and he's like dying. The queen didn't know. First of all, the king did not tell the queen that he was dying. This was coming. Beatrice even asked the doctors, like, she was horrified. She was like, if he had had a shock, like say that I told him I wasn't going to be getting married anymore, would that have been what caused this heart attack? And the doctors like just sped things up, but this was coming. And I don't understand how he hid this from everyone, let alone his wife. He's gonna have all these royal doctors. Like, didn't she notice his doctor's visits? What were we doing here? Anyways, the king calls in Beatrice and he doesn't quite get out what Beatrice is like looking for. His command for her to marry Teddy, or him releasing her from that responsibility and saying, marry Connor and just try it, even though like it's going to cause so much bad press. Like, first of all, the scandal of her falling in love with her guard, it's gonna set the media off like crazy. They're gonna think she's, some emotional female ruler that can't handle it, but he like falls back into his coma. Meanwhile, Daphne has showed up to the hospital. So manipulative, because the night before, at this party, at the engagement party, she went home with Ethan. She wakes up with Ethan and is like getting dressed. She's like, I've got to go to the hospital to win back Jefferson, not to care about the king. Who cares about that? What she wants is to swoop in with Jefferson because she knows that Nina and Jefferson are not going to make it through all this press stuff. And so she shows up, obviously looking amazing. She brings flowers. She's so ready for this. Like, she does play this part really well. But at the same time, Nina has decided to show up because she's like, I need to show up for Samantha. Her moms approve of that. Yeah, you need to go be there for Samantha despite what's happened with you and Jefferson. So Nina shows up to the hospital and the person at the front desk makes a very pointed look to look if Nina is holding anything because Daphne came with flowers. And Nina's like, I am so stupid. I have to leave. And she texts Samantha. She's like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm here for you, but she leaves the hospital. Meanwhile, the queen has sent the kids outside, as if being in the hospital is not traumatic enough. While they're outside talking to the people, trying to thank them for being there, the doctor, like, runs down the stairs, and everybody realizes the king is dead, and now Beatrice is the queen, and then the whole crowd starts bowing to Beatrice because she's now the queen, including the queen, or I guess the king's wife. She like bows down to her daughter. I'm crying, like I can't handle it. And now like it's pretty obvious like she and Teddy need to get married. Oh, me reading this like heading into the hospital scene, I still didn't know that this was like had a sequel. I was like, there's a lot to be resolved in these next 10 pages, including Daphne and this girl. So, we didn't talk about this yet. While Daphne was at the hospital, she went to the hospital room of this friend that we keep hearing about very vaguely, who is in a coma and has been for months. Now, but we see Daphne go into this hospital room of this friend who has had this coma, and she's talking to her, and we find out what happened. Because we get the idea that Daphne cheated on Jefferson with Ethan, the best friend, and they've never said anything about it. But this girl, Hamari, who was like a really close friend of Daphne's, saw her and Ethan together and was like, Jefferson's also my friend. If you do not tell him about the two of you, I am going to tell him. Ethan is like, you know what, it's better, let's just come clean. And Daphne's like, absolutely not, like I am the prince, like we're not telling him about this. Even if he did forgive her, like it would put a stain on her perfect reputation. So Daphne was like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get her super drunk at this party. She slips drugs into Hamari's drink that night. Apparently overestimates the dose. Hamari, she ends up falling down a set of stairs, hit her head, and she goes into a coma. So this is like Daphne's fault. We find that out at the very end of the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Obviously this girl's coming back. She feels the slight squeeze of her hand. So there's a lot set up for this next book of like, possibly, I'm gonna guess, wedding plans happening for Beatrice and Teddy, Connor spiraling out of control, possibly the two of them getting caught. I thought they were gonna get caught this book. At the end of the book, I was like, Beatrice, you are being completely reckless with this. Or Samantha and Teddy are gonna get caught, and it's gonna be a massive media issue that Beatrice is gonna have to deal with because she's now queen. And I think we're gonna get to see a lot more of the politics of her being queen, which is going to be really interesting too. And then we're going to have this girl Hamari come back, and Beatrice's mess is going to get everywhere, which is going to be really interesting to watch her spiral out of control as well. I give it a 6.5/7 out of 10 because I did feel like some of it was a little, not cliche, but it has been done. Who was your favorite character? Mine was Beatrice. I just really liked reading from her perspective the most, but I think Samantha is so fun as well. I'm excited to read Royals. That's coming up next for me. No, I'm sorry. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye.